right, now it's time here to, again, collect the income and everything, but to make some hard thinking. Because this is not yet the second phase. This guy can't do anything. But there are some availabilities that are interesting. For example, hey, I want to keep getting my 50 bucks, so that's not an issue. But my Kini, I may well be triggering that. And then again, it's 30 bucks in my pocket not to. Whereas it's only 18 bucks in my pocket to do it. So yeah, I'm not going to trigger that. I'm going to collect my cash on that. But what about Troy here, which is 10 bucks? Can I reach it? Well, I have 5, 6, 7 ships. I don't think I really can. I don't have the 20 bucks here anymore. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can make a little bit more money if I go for it, like 3 bucks more per share. With 6 shares, that's 18 bucks. I believe Troy is worth doing. And I especially then want to make another check. Is this the company I want it with? Well, there's only one other only one other country that's available, which is that green one. That starts over here. That's not going to get it. So I believe what I'm going to do is I'm going to cash this in. That means I don't get the 10 bucks this turn, but I do get this, and I'll be able to take advantage of that in the near future. My Kini I already decided against. This is not going. Nothing over here, nothing over there. Okay, so everything else just produces its income as it has been. The money's been collected. Now we come to where things start getting kind of interesting in terms of the decision making. There's a lot of subtle, well, unfamiliar is probably the real thing. Unfamiliar decisions you have to make in this game. And again, 2038 has similar kinds of issues where you're facing things that aren't very XX-ish in some ways. So in this case, not only do I have to think about the trains that I need, but I've got this, do I want to pillage, not the 5 bucks, but do I want to run or do I want to swallow? Right, that's the standard question, right? But from normal XXs. But here I'm looking at, yeah, I can make 9, 12 if I pay 10 bucks out of pocket. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. I can't make it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can make it to there, or I can make it to here. If I pay 40 bucks out of pocket, I can make a little bit more, right? 5 bucks more than that. 14 bucks. Okay, that's nice. But on the other hand, if I swallow now, when my money's not going very well, I get, okay, just an extra 100 bucks. Pretty soon it's going to be 200, right? And I'll be without the 2 train. Maybe that's the time to do it. I think that's actually the time to do it. So I'm going to pay out at this point. Question is, you know, how much of this money do I want to throw away? Do I want to throw 40 bucks away to get the bigger cash payout right now? Or do I want to pay 10? Or do I just want to swallow, you know, just run at 9? There are so many different balancing choices to make in terms, because I don't have a whole lot of shares here. The big important thing is pushing the share value up so that when I do release those 4 shares, 4 merchants, I get maximal value so that maybe I don't have to do as many swallows or as many releases that'll limit the amount of territory that I can run in the future. All these different things kind of all link together into this big mess of decision making. I do this in a multiplayer game, but I think I'm going to back up that Troy decision, get my 10 bucks. The reason being, I saw another path, which is if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I end up making 5 bucks instead of 6, which is 1 buck less. This makes 6, so I'm better off holding it for another round at this point. Both black and red have gone. Black made like 19. I don't know what red made. No, not too much. 9. I think I went for the big one, so like 17, but at expense. Purple did something kind of unexpected. They bought 2 of these. They want to make sure they get one, so they don't have enough money on blue to buy anything bigger without a swallow. And I also would like not to have a no train moment where you don't get your swallow or whatever. So yeah, we bought 2 trains and we'll move one over. We hope, but the problem is we've opened things up. However, what to? It would take $500 for Gray to be able to buy both trains. They don't have that, and remember, there's no swallow bonus as far as I can tell if you just pass when you have no train or no ships. So I've kind of forced Gray into a position where they're going to buy a 3. This is kind of interesting because it means Yellow is going to buy the first 4, which is not what was exactly counted on. Now, what Gray could do is they could jiggle things around a little bit to open something up for Red, perhaps, or whatever. But I don't have a lot of cash kicking around right now anywhere, and Gray's not going to go up in value or anything like that. So I don't know quite what I want to do. I have to do some calculations to see, you know, what I think is going to end up in my hands. Because a 3, I don't know, a 3 is pretty decent in some ways. I mean, it's a good price. It's only $200 for 3 spaces versus $300 for 4 spaces. Basically, the further you get from the 2, the worse of a deal each space is, but because that's where the free, you know, they're like $100 a space minus the free one for the 2. So the more, the bigger the trains are, the more expensive they are per space that they can travel. However, the 2s don't last as long, so, you know. Yeah, I really don't know what I want in terms of the midterm game, in terms of placement of the companies. Like a 3, yeah, I could run a little thing here, but why is that particularly good compared to Red? You know, would I rather have these Grays that maybe I can pick up because they look less attractive in general, rather than Reds, which I can't? There's going to be additional shares in the pool, though, so I really just don't know what I'm going to be doing. Releasing Red shares is better than releasing Gray shares at this point. I can let Gray gain some value. Again, I can't juggle trains. I keep forgetting. Until the 4s come out, I can't juggle anything, which means there's not much decision. I just have to buy this so that I get a run next time and don't fall back, or don't lose the opportunity to go forward. You don't actually fall back. And it's going to put it on Blue. Blue does not have enough money, but they could do a swallow and they could buy the first 4 conceivably. That seems like not a terrible idea because all they have is a 2 right now. Unfortunately, whoever buys the first 4 doesn't get the first exploration. They get the last exploration off of that. There's a disadvantage to bringing out the new boats, which is kind of weird. Usually there's kind of I don't know, there's a disadvantage in the rail 18XXs because you don't get to lay the upgraded track and control that. So it's a similar kind of thing where it's like, oh, jeez, do I want to hand that so I'm in the worst possible position for that and let somebody else do it, or is the advantage of the trains more important? Usually the advantage of the trains is more important. Here I'm going to lose a run if I don't buy that because I can't juggle trains or anything like that. I would love to be able to pull a 3 instead. Now, I can buy the 3 immediately after I buy the 4, but then I'd be buying it for not much money. I'm not really sure Purple needs so much shipping, but then again, I'm not sure Blue needs so much shipping. Or I could just wait and have 2 3s. I don't know. We're going to do the swallow on the purchase because otherwise we lose a run, and that's bad. Even though it wouldn't. So now, like in any XX where things rust, hey, all the 2s go away. Great. You can see this is going to weaken the position of a couple of people who are doing very well. But now there's another step though. Every company in prestige order has the right to release up to 4 at this point. Somewhere it says it here. Start of phase 2, you're allowed to release 4 ships. And this is done without any any prestige loss to do it. So generally, it's a good idea. It gets you more cash into your pocket. But of course, it does eat into, how many markets you're going to have available. So you got to kind of, again, balance it and think, how much do I need? At this point, I like doing the 4 release. The 6 release here, that's really unlikely. I think the people, I mean, you might do a few, but the people who are releasing 6 are probably people who have just started a company just before that period or whatever. And, they're just not going to have a lot of pieces on the board. So we'll see, and I'll let you know if anybody doesn't release all 4. Everybody's gone except for yellow. Yellow is having a hard decision here. Not everybody released 4. So, for example, purple I think released 3. They had 1 in here. Gray released only 1. It's just a matter of balancing out those costs to future releases being more valuable when trains are more expensive. Red, I feel like their value is pretty good, so getting a pile of cash in there seems good. But their value is just going to go up, right? So maybe I screwed up by releasing so early. But with yellow, I've got this interesting problem. I got enough cash, I could buy a 4 train, or 4 boat. And a 4 boat's kind of cool. I mean, I don't know what I want to do with it specifically. I'm only going to be able to go within 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could run an 8 with them. But it's an ugly 8. And that's kind of where the problem is. A 4 would run okay down here. So I think I'm just going to hold and not spend out my pieces. The problem is the 8 could be more interesting, right? 1, 2. I don't necessarily have to go this way. 1, 2, 3. This is a more valuable area. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, but I don't get there. The other thought is, what about a 9, which gets me a permanent boat fairly early? A 9's going to cost me $500. I can't create an extra $500 in cash right now. So I'd have to swallow anyway for that. I think I'm going to be looking at probably a 6 or 7, which are $600 or $700, which isn't, that big a difference really. So, okay, although you can see the prices actually start going up. So 4 is still 300, 5s go to 500, and everything from then on is 100 per space it goes to. The E is an unlimited. It can sail anywhere it likes. But these are kind of endpoints. So you can only have one of them because you start at one of your locations. And, the neat thing with the E's, though, is you can collect all the zero-valued temples and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. So I think I'm not actually going to release anything with yellow. And blue's in kind of a similar circumstance. They didn't drop anything. They've got such a low stock value that it seems like it's a real waste of the company's resources unless you need it. This isn't like early money. But the problem is, this is all I have, right? It's my only company. Maybe. There's still one up there. We're in the second phase of the game, finally, with the 4 boats coming up. I can actually spend it. I'm going to spend $20 to pick up one of these 3s. I could actually spend a little bit more, but moving little odd amounts of money doesn't seem to do much good. I don't know. I guess it gives you a little bit of flexibility. But I don't feel like making change. And okay, what does that do? Well, it kind of weakens purple, but purple's got enough money to buy another 4, and that's kind of where we're going with that. That ends blue's action. They're able to buy the boat because they just bought the 4, and that puts it over to yellow, who, well, now gets to explore 2 spaces instead of 1. And I got to think about my 4, right? I was going to say 1, 2. Oh, jeez. 1, 2, 3. I could do these 3. I can't reach here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think these 3 are actually my best that I can hit. All right, well, I can only explore 2 spaces. This, black's not going to be able to get to this turn. I don't think red can get here either, but we'll just grab both of these. I think we're going to want both of these eventually. Yeah, we're going to have them now anyway. And then I'll go in the other direction next time. This would actually make a good place for a new home. Huh. Maybe I don't even want to be this way. I mean, I got no real reason to be down here, do I? I could start my home here and then move 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I only get a 2-space movement. Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to get better than this in terms of a location, because this might all fill up. So maybe my best move is to move to here with my 2 movement and drop this in. And then, of course, it means I don't get to here, because the furthest I can ever explore is 4 spaces out. And that feels kind of cheap to me to do that. I gotta think. I mean, I would have released shares if I was going to go out here at this point, I think. Because it would allow me to run a bigger thing. So I'm going to hold off. But here's the problem. Sparta's just not really positioned to take into here. Now, if I'm here, I'm not going to get even the 5s. So I think waiting and going with this kind of slow movement and remaining an investor with only my three shares that I have in my company or whatever, I think that's not a terrible move. So yeah, I'm going to do these 2. And I don't know what my eventual goal is. Yeah, that's no good. But I hope I don't get closed out of ever being able to move in that direction. It looks kind of scary to me, but if I was going to go in that direction, I should have released my shares, and that would have been, what, 75 times 4, which is like $300. That would be another ship. I don't want to rewind this because other people have made decisions already. Right? Yeah. Because I didn't know he was transferring a ship, I guess. I don't know. And we don't go back. Oh, shit. I hope I did these. I don't know. Not being able to flip counters is a really... So some of the components for this I really don't like. Like, these guys should have stickers on them or something so that you can tell which side's which. And if this was my game, I would put a mark on them. But it's a borrowed game, so I can't. And then these things, well, yeah, they roll off the things. But they also... There was something else I didn't like about them. Oh, yeah. And this may just be familiarity. So I'm so familiar with seeing certificates that, you know, counting up little candies or whatever is a lot harder for me. But as a design decision for, you know, how the game's graphic design is going to be, I think these work better, because here's the thing. They float around in here. They sit on as tokens and such not. The idea of shares just doesn't work when you're using them in multiple ways as you are in this game. And then also, you know, thematically, shares don't make a lot of sense either. Whereas little wooden pieces don't either, but at least they don't give you this kind of weird misconception that a share would. Yeah, but I think I'm pretty sure I'm going to regret not having released more certificates. Anyway, we'll buy another 4. And that is the end of the first of these rounds. Let me push back up. Where are we? Yeah, I really think I'm going to regret this. I don't know. I don't know what the hell to do. But here's the thing. I mean, if I get an E, I want to be way over there, right? And so it doesn't really make a difference. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I don't think this was a good move. because I think red's gonna. Here's the thing: Athens is really well positioned to take advantage of these 6-point spaces here. Other people very much less so. They're Athens after all. They have less tokens though, so you have to be really careful in husbanding your tokens so that you get them where you want to. And it's hard to do because getting them in intermediate places is important. It's not like the rail games where, yeah, I put a couple of dots in key locations, but I can hit other cities. No, here the dots are what your income are, and they're also your shares, and they're just so many different. They serve different purposes that I'm not sure it quite makes sense. The purposes they serve, but it kind of does. It kind of does because, well, I don't know, because the fact that you are representing it as as having better cash flow, it really ends up just being a balancing problem more than anything else. There's going to be an optimal balance between how much cash you put in here, which means how many boats you're going to get, or other things, but for the most part, how many boats you're going to get, versus how much board presence you want. And if you let it get out of whack, well, you either have too many boats for what you're hitting, and yeah, you can hit some temples or something, or you have too few, and you've got money problems, and you're going to have to swallow and everything to try to get yourself back into play there. Starting to work my way through the payouts, and again, Troy, I don't have enough train to reach there anymore, or boat, so we're not flipping it over. We're taking just $5 from it. Over here, Mike Knee, again, doesn't make enough money to be worth doing it even now. So the $15, I mean, basically I'm making $3 per, so $9 from doing it. Plus I give money to other people, so obviously I'm not going to change my strategy there. I'm just going to take the cash. Over here, though, this is making nothing now. So it's time to turn it in. And, it's not really that big a deal in terms of the difference in values. Red's probably going to be making pretty good value. The only company that's got 2 boats on it is the blue one. Others might have capability, but red certainly does too. With that 130 value, well, I'm losing $80, but it's better than. And I have to do it now. I can't do it during stock round or any other time. So I'm kind of lucky because there's a pile of shares out here, or merchants out here. Oh, do I want to steal? Yeah, I think I do. Everybody else stole too. I don't know if he stole from both his companies. Oh well. Here, blue probably doesn't want to steal. I'm leaving $5. It allows me to juggle trains. Oh, actually, we could steal 10 now. But the other money will trigger this if I want it. I might want to hold on to that until later or something, not make the decision now. And then over here, this has a fair amount of money, $300. That's enough for a 4 train. Does purple need to visit anywhere? Not right now. And this is just before the stock round, so I'm going to pay that into my pocket. Over here, this doesn't pay. The question is, do I want to double my range at this point? Well, right now I'm running a 3, which can get me 1, 2, 3, or something like that. A 6 would get me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could hit this, or I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then hit something else, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. So I think I do want to double it this time, and I'm going to mark that by putting this over here to remind me that that's what's happening. That means I can't double it again in phase 2. My ship movement, but because I'm down to just 1 ship, this seems like the perfect time to do it. Of course, if I was planning on swallowing with that 1 ship, well, now I've kind of decreased, I've gotten rid of the incentive to swallow, but it looks like I have enough cash on hand to buy another ship, so I think I'm okay for a while. And a 3 and a 4 That's a nice combination. The only problem is it locks you out of the 5. But the 6s aren't terribly much more, so it shouldn't be too bad. And now we go to the in prestige order running of the companies or countries. It has a 2-space search. If I go to here and make this my new home, then once the 3s come out, I can explore all of these 3 hexes, and one at a time, but that's a pretty valuable span, so this is a very useful location. Alternatively, though, I guess I could, grab another space somewhere, but that doesn't really help. What about from here? Well, here is less valuable, there's no question. The interesting place is if you can get up on here from the Byzantine side of things, and we'll see if anybody can get in range even of a 4 ship of there, although when we played last night, nobody was able to reach Byzantium. Nobody bought one of the big extended ships. So we never got into there, and I don't know how likely they are to come out because the game is limited by the amount of rounds as opposed to by a bank or something like that. So yeah, I think I'm gonna grab this as my base, and now I can start expanding into this area. I've got to be careful. I've only got 6 dots left, and I may want to release some for cash. 1, 2, 3 of them would really be nice up here. A 4th one here. Now I'm down to 2. I probably don't want to expand into too many more spaces, but if I'm going to be getting early cash and stuff, or cash in the mid-ground, maybe, maybe I'm not going to release those extra shares. Maybe this is the money I've got for the game. On the bright side, Gray's got a bunch of pieces that they can release. And Red ends up buying a boat, which I'm not sure is a great idea. The cash I had was enough for a bigger boat. Well, we can probably juggle things around. I think I've got 1 token that I'm going to be able to spend. I'll tell you why. So I said there's 3 here. Make it a 4th one there. Right, this one. And I think I'm able to sail all that. And that's pretty good. So actually that might leave me with 2 tokens to sell. And the price is going up high enough that that's enough money with this extra cash that I think I can buy one of the bigger ships, the 6 or 7. Or even an E, depending, but that probably requires a swallow. Those are $1,000. But then we move to black here. Now black has, again, the possible desire to extend. If I extend here, that's going to start getting me into better locations. The problem here is this is a 4 space. But if I don't extend here, somebody else might go into here, and then I'm never going to be able to extend south. So eating this space up, even though it's one of the more valuable spaces in my area, may be my best defensive move. The nice thing about it is it gets me in range that I can hit this with exploration before the diesel itself is even available. But it is painful to give this up. But I'm too worried somebody's going to want to move up this way, especially since purple feels like they've kind of gotten constrained. They thought they were slicing Sparta out. I don't think they really did. I think Sparta, by getting that double move down here, because the 4s came out and everything already, they got themselves into a pretty strong position. Now, that's not to say purple's completely sliced, but they probably want to be down here. And the danger, of course, is they grab this as their new home and start expanding in that way. There's the possibility they could take Melos. That's the only other new home they can take. I don't think you can put them out here. So after doing that, and I can make a run for 9, basically, without any investment. I can make it a little bit more, like 12 for $20. However, cash may be a big deal right now. whichever I choose. And this is actually the better deal if cash is a big deal, so I could like up this by a little bit for 10 bucks. I don't know. Maybe 20 bucks for 3 seems better than 10 bucks for 1. But here's the problem. This is the last of the 4s. One of the difficulties in XX games is there's usually some train, or in this case ship, that you really kind of don't want. This feels like it's the one you really don't want. I buy this sucker, and everybody else who's got an opening is ready to buy a permanent 5. I wait on this, and maybe everybody else waits on it. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Buying that sucker doesn't look like a great position to be in. However, my company's not making a lot of money if I don't buy it. What if I buy it and swallow? I mean, it's $300. That leaves me with like $250 in cash. Now, a release of the 6, I'll have enough money. So I think it's worth buying, just because I look around and I don't think anyone else is going to buy it, and I need to push things forward. I am not in a great position here. I'm sitting on 6 certificates total. He is 2, probably evens out in terms of value. He's got a 7th certificate. But these yellows aren't terribly worthwhile. Oh my God, what's going on here? 3, 6, 9 certificates. There's a limit in this. You're only allowed to hold 13 of those. They're not certificates, they're merchants or whatever. 9 here. But I feel like I'm way behind in so many things that I've got to shake this up. I've got to try to make things happen, whatever that means. And I'm kind of surprised that I'm falling behind that much, because I feel like looking at things, I feel kind of in the last place or very close to it in this position here. I forgot I did the double move. Okay. But that's okay. I won't need it once I buy that second ship, right? So now let's see what my movement would be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can I do better? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I'm going to do that run, because I did that double trigger. And now I don't know how to mark this. We'll put it in German up over here. It's supposed to go upside down, but it doesn't really look all that different. So I'll kind of have it rotated sideways. And we paid out the 20 and figure out what we get. Swallowing, I'm not convinced I want to buy this anymore, because now I'm down to very little money left. And I can only sell 4 of these, which is worth about 500 bucks. That gets me to the 600 that I could buy a 6 boat with, but not the amount that I could buy a 7, which means I may have to swallow anyway. And if I'm going to have to swallow anyway, giving everybody a turn to get this, or maybe flushing that out or something like that, that might help. So I think I'm going to delay on actually purchasing the boat. We'll see where it goes. But it doesn't really hurt me not to purchase it if I'm going to swallow. It's an interesting facet in this game. Every time you swallow, it doesn't matter how big your run is. It's just a fixed value. And that's kind of, it changes some of the dynamics in terms of just, whether or not you need to buy the next train, as it were. Huge difference in terms of the actual trains is you don't have to find perfect matches. Like, you don't have to say, oh, I need a 4 run on this side and a 5 or a 7 on this side or whatever. No, you just need a total number. So like 2 5s is as good as a 6 and a 4, but it's permanent, That may not be the case in some of the rail-based games, and it's also not the case in 2038. 2038, you don't just lock them all together. You basically fly each individual ship on its own little route. So a 4 would be able to travel 4 spaces, and then a 3 would have to start from your home and travel 3 other spaces and stuff like that. So you've got a very, very different, kind of pattern making here. The bigger your fleet, just the further you can go. It doesn't really have to be an individual. You're not limited by individual ships, and that also changes some of the decision making. Jeez. I'm on orange, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing there either. Because again, if I want to get to Byzantium, that's 4 away. But if I wait until the 3s come out, oh, actually, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I don't know. Right now, I could put it here. This is the only place I could put it, or up here. Here is pretty crappy, but it's not because it's a 5. You know, a 5 is worth a pretty good amount of money. But I'd really like to get that end game positioning, and then I got to think, well, okay, if I'm not expanding very far, how many ships do I need? You know, because right now I only have 3 ships, well, or a 3-point ship. That gets me most of what I need. Now, a 4, I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, something like that. I don't know how much value there is to that. I could also launch this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which looks somewhat more encouraging. I don't have the cash to pay this off, though. And this is only a 4. It's not that interesting. I thought it was a 6. This here. 4 is not that exciting. So, yeah, I don't know. I may just stay at a 3 and run kind of light. I got a lot of shares. They're not all that great, but I got a lot of them, and that makes me feel kind of encouraged that I'm doing okay, even if I'm not making a lot of money on each particular share. Sees no breakout in this direction basically being available, so I'm going to place this. Because I'm placing that, I might as well swallow. Now I've got 500 bucks. Now the question again is, geez, you know, what do I do with my 500 bucks? Coming out of here, I can sail around up here, I guess. I mean, I'm not really sure this is great, but I'm going to have another ship. That 500 bucks is a permanent. I really can't afford to be diddling around and buying myself another 4. So I think I'm okay right now. I'm not terribly thrilled, but whatever. And yeah, I guess we'll just hold with purple. That's going to put us on some of the newer countries. The gray over here. If it wants to break out, they more or less need this space at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, I could get lucky at the very end of the game, but right now I'm going to be really, really neutered if I don't take this. So I'm going to move through Oreos to Skyros. I'm going to drop this in Skyros. I'm going to drop this over in Oreos so I actually make some money. Remember, there's 2 per now where there's 2 available. And, you know, now I got room to kind of start hitting here, and I'll be able to maybe hit some of the stuff on the coast. The problem, of course, is where I'm hitting kind of directly interferes with Athens, but I just don't know what else to do. Eventually I'll be grabbing this, but that may not be my optimal right now. I want to kind of aim upward and get in challenge zone more with the blue and the orange, but you know, whatever. Okay. So that means, what do we do? Well, we have a 3 I could run. Again, probably don't want to have that 4, but who the hell is going to buy it, you know? I don't have a whole hell of a lot of shares either. And maybe I'm the person who has to buy it because black didn't buy it. Yellow maybe is the person. Yeah, yellow probably won't either. I don't know. I can always shift it. You're allowed 3. There's never any reduction in the amount of ships you can have, which is kind of cool. So you never get shafted due to the limit of going down. But this company definitely doesn't look like it needs another ship. If there's ever a time to swallow, it's right now when I can't make much of anything. So I think we're gonna do the swallow for 200 bucks. And yeah, the only problem is this is payout time just before a stock round, but the payoff is so little it would just be $9. So yeah, we'll grab $200. I just can't see buying that. I don't know. I mean, if I do, it opens up blue to getting a 5. Blue's not going to get a 5. Yellow to getting a 5. Yellow doesn't have enough money to get a 5. Red gets first shot at a 5. Huh. And I could arrange for yellow to have, or for red to have more money. And then, like if I buy another train off them, but then I have too much train over here and a fair amount there, which isn't necessarily bad, and I start pushing things towards the 6s, which I also don't think is terribly bad for me, even though that's going to crush 2 3s that I have. This guy's got 2 3s. Those guys each have a 3. I don't know. I have to look at it as I'm one of the 2 people sitting on 2 boats on a company. And that's going to allow me, one way or another, to do better than I can do otherwise. Do I need to shift that money? Probably not, because I don't think anybody's buying that 4 either. The people coming after me, blue and yellow, certainly don't look like they have the cash to be able to do that. Now they get swallowed, but it's still not enough. So I think this turn I'm fine holding on to that, just that 3. I'm not going to be able to use much more than that. And I guess that's it. I just swallowed, for later, basically. I was going to move their discovery boat here. The question is whether or not they move it here. As far as I can see, there's no limitation to doing it. I can't go there without an E-ship, but I could get the exploration done. Now, if I have an E-ship, that's an easy exploration for me to do, and maybe this isn't where I want to land. Maybe it kind of doesn't matter, because I can swing anywhere and hit that. I don't think it's worth spending a token on it, just because I might need that token somewhere else. And it's one that I can get fairly easily. So taking that. So the only other question would be whether I want to drop my thing here, my new home. That would be an option instead. That puts me a little far from these. I think given the situation with the 4s kind of being clogged right now, I think I can afford to run a little lean at this point and not lay that down and wait and see if I can drop it here. This would be very helpful comparatively, because eventually I could get to some of these. Of course, I'm not going to beat Athens to the 6-point city with 1 dot, but I can at least get some of the score stuff if need be. Yeah. So I haven't been removing the ships here, which of course triggers things a little faster. God damn it. We had a real problem remembering that this was going to happen playing last night too. I don't think we screwed anything up. I think they fell eventually. It's just nobody was taking them into account, and they fell. It definitely helps get rid of the shipping considerations. So I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should drop 2 of them. The game would not have progressed the way it has if I hadn't. And there's 1 back here that didn't get dumped either. Obviously, this one should go, but I feel like we should get rid of at least 1 of these. Say a 2 disappeared before, whatever. I don't know. I really don't know what to do about it. But yeah, these are. I may have done the first one. I know I didn't do that one. And now a 5 is available, and obviously nobody was going to buy that 4 if it's disappearing anyway. The only reason to buy it would have been to flush it out and move forward. But this is a definite problem I have. Is some little mechanisms, you know, and when you're playing with other people, somebody's more likely to remember that thing. But when there's kind of unfamiliar mechanisms, and I know other XX games certainly have it. I think 80 had it, and I don't know. There's a couple of them that have it that I've seen, but it's just not the one that's on top of my mind because I'm so used to playing games that don't have that, and it's a rare thing, you know. And yeah, it's marked on here, but it's a rare thing, so it's very easy to forget that it's happening. Anyway, certainly people's strategy is a little skewed, although I don't think anybody did anything stupid based on that. That there, somebody might not have bought a 4 who did, but that's okay. And now we've got the Startspieler. Let's move into the starting player. We'll play in English. And there's a lot of certificates out. There's one company. That company's a little iffy. It has basically no breakout capability at all. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. I don't think you can turn those into bases. 1, 2, 3, 4. He basically can't get out of here. So he becomes a company that, you know, at best can hit a few of these things in here. And with 2 bases in here, he's a lot less valuable. Probably nobody's going to take it. It's just, you know, whatever money you throw into it, you can always, no, you can't. You've got 3 shares of it. You're going to have tied up however much money you invest in those 3 shares. They're going to be tied up for the entire game because nobody else is going to buy it for you. Takeover, or we have one happening. Red wasn't able to afford another share of their company. It's gotten too high in value. I'm invested in 2 companies. This guy's managed to buy his 4th one. He sees no reason to let, you know, someone else run the company. You might want that if it's not in good shape, but it's in good shape with 2 boats. Not permanent, but might as well, right? And there's no dumping in this game. And yeah, it looks like he's just lost his main investment capability there. The problem with the takeover is one of the things he holds, the Mykini, is not going to be as easily available. Now this can be assigned, though, to Red, I guess with Red's permission. The rules are a little funky on that, even though he wouldn't be president anymore. So what we're having is a hostile takeover over there. The Red company is still better. Athens is still better under his hands, as far as he's concerned, than in somebody else's hands who has 2 companies. Plus, that gives me the ability to juggle. Do I want green? No, green just sucks, you know? And there's very little incentive in this game to have another company. In most of the XXs, the president's certificate is worth 2 shares. Here, there's something and it's worth 3, but they count against you on here. So there's no real desire to open everything up if it doesn't have, you know. And this would be pretty questionable anyway. It would run and it would make a teeny bit of money, but it's not going to be able to make much, depending on the train. But here it can come out 1, 2, 3 eventually, and that's really it. So really all it would be hitting is these. Yeah, maybe 4 at some day it'll hit down here. And that would be its absolute limit. And in order to get here, I have to have one of them big E's, which means I'm basically, you know, have a huge amount of train to hit almost nothing, or a boat to hit almost nothing. Let me see if this guy can allocate it over to Red, because he's still got 3 of the 7 shares. He certainly won't do it until after phase 2 is gone, but it doesn't look like Gray is going to be hitting Mykini, so I don't know. It's specific. You have to be king of it, which means this may just be kind of useless unless he's able to regain control of Red, which I think is pretty doubtful at this point, but who knows? He's got 2 companies too. You know, somebody's close to you in total value, in total number of pips. It's possible. Okay, after a little bit of pillaging and some people making some cash, but not a lot. This and this are still active for money. And not a lot of pillaging, to be honest, because it's the early money that's so important to grab so that you can cycle it more quickly. Here now, we're kind of worried about taking money out of the companies. Red, under new ownership. Mikini maybe never going to get used, which kind of sucks. Going to push forward here and drop a token into there. That's kind of as far as I can go. I can only go 2 spaces. So that'll work for that. Now, my shipping is actually a 7. Wow. That's more than I expected to have on this. Well, I mean, the thing is, was this guy over here planning to sail. So I probably want to actually sail from here instead of from here. But I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That looks pretty good. I know one of the reasons, you know, some people like these videos is that I go into the, hey, what's going on? What does the mechanism actually represent here? And in this case, I had been puzzled, but now I'm beginning to see it. So with the merchants, the amount of merchants that you release as stock bring money into your company because you're selling them, you know, contracts or something like that, whatever. But they're bringing money into holdings. The reason that you're able to get more money, see what's happening is they produce more total money. The more of them that are out, they're not shares in the company, they're each the entire value of the company. So if you have a big trading route that's, you know, all connected, well, you have more merchants out there working that trading route. On the other hand, the actual trading posts are the physical capabilities that make each merchant more valuable. So I think the idea is there's a certain amount of people available in each city to do merchant stuff. And some of that stuff just indicates the overall profit, the amount of merchants in each of the markets, essentially. And that's the stock value, or the number of stocks that are out there. Whereas the actual markets allow your ships to do more trading. So, you know, you've got more locations, you've got more possibilities to mesh the different commodities and be able to pull things off. All right. Anyway, that's my hand-wavy explanation for what's going on here. We'll go on. Red's not got the money for a ship, so yeah. This sucks though. I need a ship. 275. I need a couple $100 more, and I just don't have it. And this is where that last 4 disappearing is a problem. Follows $200 and buys itself a 5, and now it's a much more valuable looking company. Still got a couple of them left, but this red-yellow combination is not going to get shit out of them. The gray had money for 1 that was supposed to be fed to red. That's where the extra capability was, and this takeover really hurt Red as an existence, even though he could have left it in the other guy's hands, but then the other guy isn't going to hand off an extra ship, knowing that he could lose it at any moment. That puts us, I guess, over to Orange, who has some cash and can probably buy a 5er. And the 5s have started to fall. Black got 1. Orange got 1. Purple got 1. Now we're up to the 6s, the next train that falls, new stage. But another release of shares, which opens up money. People might actually be able to afford a ship after they dump some of their shares. Red. What am I going to do? Am I going to float, yellows merchants to try to create a ship for red? I don't know. We'll see. That's what gray was going to do, but it may not be the case in another player's hands. No, we're up to gray, actually. About that 6, that's going to drop us into phase 3. Hey, that opens this up. It's time to order some money up. Well, red, highest stock value. They sold one share. It's worth almost 200 bucks. I'm probably going to need to swallow to get something, but that leaves me enough tokens that I can run through the rich areas back here. I think. We don't know what kind of ships I'm going to get, but it looks like one swallow to a good position there. Black is next. Black's got something interesting. So something I forgot to tell you about. Any train from the 4 onward is worth half its value towards an E train. An E train is as good as you can get, but they're $1,000, so it would be $750 to get an E train if I cash in that 5. But that means I can go anywhere. Now, what it doesn't mean is that I can explore anywhere, so I don't get everything I want out of it. But what I do, it kind of makes that kind of questionable. But what I do have is I have a range of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I can get here, I can get there, I can get there. So I need 3 tokens. So I'm going to release the other 5. I'm allowed to release up to 6 tokens at this stage. So 5 of those at 120 each is going to get me some 600 bucks. A lot of shares out there, but that gets me pretty close to where I need to be. I'm still going to need a swallow, but then I'll be able to use the extra cash to run to some of these shrines or whatever and collect even more money. So that's pretty sweet, actually. And I could always pillage money as well. I'm still going to need the swallow, but I'm going to get one hell of a run out of it from once the E's come out. Real shame because I'm very close to the amount of money that I need without the swallow, but again, the overage is all right. Alternatively, I could just buy a 7 train. That gives me a 12 run, but I won't get down here, and I won't get all the other things. I think the swallow is well worth it. But it means waiting, and there are a very limited number of operating rounds here. Onward. Hates themselves. All right, so what I'd like is 3 tokens left here. I'm going to put my base here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 away from Byzantium. I get Troy. Okay, that's cool. I get this and this. That's 3 tokens I need, okay, for sort of reasonable money. That leaves me 3 left over that I could sell at this point for 330. I don't know what black is doing, but it sure looks like they're going to buy the 6 train, and there's only 1 left. Somebody else may buy it as well. There are other companies that have not yet released, but could easily set it up so that they could do a swallow. You get like 300 bucks on a swallow at this point. And I think I'm forced to go for a 7 train at the very least. And that means I have to swallow twice. Alternatively, I could go for this. That's 750. Yeah. 2 swallows is not worth it. See, the problem is all these, I'm only left with 2 tokens if I bump this over, which means I'd only get these 2 and Troy and whatever else I'd get. So I'd be selling 4 for 440, and this is worthless. I'd be up to 740. I still don't have enough for the big train. Oh, that sucks. I'm out of time on this video, so we're gonna break this one. And hey, I'm sorry, YouTube doesn't allow me to edge around at all, so we're partway through a round.